Tell me one good reason why I should try continuing to fight it.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Techie Games, and this is the Realme C3 after 2 weeks. So this is a new Android phone from Realme in the budget segment. That's the thing, with a price tag of $59.90 or around $120 US, you would think that the C3 is a budget smartphone. I mean, yeah, technically it is, but with the overall user experience, you would probably think otherwise. Of course, special thanks to Realme for sending me a unit of their Realme C3 for a review. Maraming salamat po sa tiwala. Of course, just a friendly reminder to everyone to stay indoors, maging hygienic, wag maging salaula, at drink your vitamins, especially vitamin C. Yeah. So currently at Lazada, this is available for $59.90 and you get a free pair of Realme Buds 2, which is a very nice edition. Comes in two color options of rose and blue, which is the one that I have, and blazing red. And if you guys want to see my unboxing and first impressions of this, then you can check it out right here or in the description. By the way, something that I forgot to mention in that video is that the Realme C3 actually comes with a pre-installed plastic screen protector, which I removed upon unboxing the device. So a few standouts right out of the box is the huge 6.5-inch IPS LCD display, a 5000 mAh battery, and this is the first smartphone to launch with a MediaTek Helio G70, so nice. Let me just say before I begin that you can't really complain about anything about this device considering the price. Maybe a few missing features, a few software bugs, the fact that this only has 3 gigs of memory, and some nitpicks of mine which we'll get into a little later. So starting off with build quality, while the main body of the phone is made of plastic, of course considering the price, Realme had to cut some corners, and this is one of them. But I don't see it as a bad thing, as when you're actually holding the device, it feels solid and there's barely any flex if you try to bend it. The front is covered by Corning Gorilla Glass 3, and with my 2 weeks of using this naked without a screen protector or case, it held up pretty good. As far as I can see, I don't even see micro scratches on the screen. One confession, I have dropped this from maybe about 3 feet in a seated position, and all it managed to do was this. So durability wise, the plastic body will do a good job in absorbing impact from falls. Moving on to design, the Realme C3 is what most budget to mid-range smartphones look like these days, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but both color options do stand out quite a bit, especially with the back design has what Realme is calling the sunrise design. Honestly, I'm into it. Of course, it does give the C3 a unique design and gives you a nice grippy phone. That's kind of like an underrated thing with smartphones. We're mainly used to seeing slippery glass and metal constructed smartphones, but with this, it gives you a solid grip on your phone. The sides doesn't have this texture and is smooth but is still grippy. Plus, the sunrise design I think helps a lot with durability, as I haven't had any scratches on the back even with me just casually putting it on any surface. The C3 has a two-tone design wherein the plastic frame where the screen is attached is black. The Corning Gorilla Glass at the front has a 2.5D glass on it, which I don't like, so the screen is not flush with the frame of the phone. So I would definitely avoid putting the screen facing down. So this is actually my first time owning a smartphone with a notch. Technically it is a notch, so we have a more minimalistic teardrop notch with the front facing 5-megapixel camera, which honestly isn't that disturbing once you get used to it. Currently, Realme doesn't have the option in their software to hide the notch, but hopefully it can be an option in a software update. Just above the notch, we have the speaker grill for the earpiece, which catches a lot of dust and lint from my pocket, so something to take note. At the bottom, we have a sizable chin at about 7mm. For me, if you're going to put a chin on a smartphone with a notch, then you might as well remove the notch, fill out the space at the top, and install dual front-facing speakers. That phone would probably sell like pancakes. I'll take 5% Realme. Of course, considering that this does have a 5000 mAh battery, then Realme might have run out of space because of that, but just a suggestion of course. The power button and volume rockers are both tactile and clicky, but I would have preferred it if they actually positioned the volume rockers on the right side of the phone along with the power button. For me, that's a better position for the volume rockers. We also have the SIM card tray at the left side with 3 slots for 2 nano SIMs and a micro SD card. At the bottom, we have good old jack, a 3.5mm headphone jack. One thing that surprised me is Realme actually used a good quality DAC for this, even though this is a budget phone. So using any pair of decent earbuds or headphones for this has been a pleasant pleasant experience, listening to music, watching videos, and playing games. More on the gaming side a little later. The output from this is great. We have dual microphones which Realme didn't advertise or tell me about it, but it does look like we have the main microphone along with a noise cancelling microphone. So call quality has been good. The person on the other end of the line sounded loud but a bit tinny. The other person was able to hear me loud and clear for the most part with minimal noise. We also have the single bottom firing speaker. Sound is clear for the most part but not quite loud and rich.
Speaker test.
And lastly, at the bottom, we have a micro USB charging port. I mean, I get that this is a budget smartphone, but it's 2020, guys. And I know Realme isn't the only company that does this, but to every company that's still using a micro USB port for their budget or even mid-range devices, please just stop. Especially with fast chargers and future fast charging technology transitioning to Type-C to Type-C charging, so yeah. At the back, we have a smooth textured fingerprint scanner, which for me is positioned just right. I can reach it just fine, but it might be a bit high for some people. We also have the Realme branding printed at the bottom, AI super camera written here along with the LED flash, and over here is the annoying and sizable camera bump housing the triple camera setup. By the way, the Realme C3 does have a dual camera option, so take note. So the camera bump thickness is about 2mm, so typing something while this is flat on your table can be annoying. Not ignoring the fact that this is almost a 7-inch tall smartphone overall, it's definitely not for everyone and people with smaller hands will have a hard time handling and using this. My experience has been pretty good so far, so I did come from using a Xiaomi Redmi Note 5, which is about the same size as this, but with a 6-inch display. So transitioning from that to this was easy. Take note that I do have average size hands. Most people will have a hard time in reaching the notifications area, but thankfully Realme has swiped down from the home screen to either bring down the notifications area or global search, which basically lets you search the different apps on your phone, which I didn't find helpful actually. Another helpful feature wherein if you have auto rotate turned off and you're in a compatible app, for example YouTube, if you rotate your phone into landscape mode, a rotating icon will appear on the top right corner or bottom left corner. Press that and you'll go into landscape mode. Of course, same goes if you go back into portrait mode. Regarding the display, this is 720p stretch on a 6.5-inch display. So it's not the sharpest display in the world obviously, but the display actually looks good. So we have an IPS LCD display with a pixel density of 270 ppi and a max brightness of 480 nits. So if you didn't know that this had a 720p display, then you wouldn't have noticed it unless someone tells you or you go open the YouTube app. Colors look relatively neutral, which I really like, although you can actually customize the colors in the display settings to cool, default, or warm. I found that my sweet spot is in the warm setting, which for me is the most pleasing to the eye, and I've been using this in dark mode all the time. You also do have an eye care mode, which basically makes the display really yellowish and should be a lot better for your eyes, but I actually found that to be irritating and gives videos a weird grainy look to it, so I never used it again. Viewing angles are actually pretty good. There's minimal color shift even at extreme angles, and it's surprisingly viewable outdoors even under direct sunlight, so yeah, overall the display looks good for a 720p display. Moving on to the software and performance, so we have Realme UI version 1.0 on top of Android 10, and the user experience has been smooth so far. Opening and closing apps, browsing through the UI, but my review unit again has 3 gigs of memory. So while I haven't had any major issues with multitasking, I did find that the 3 gigs of memory limits the C3 in keeping multiple apps open in the background, which is to be expected. So if you were thinking of buying this, hold up for now, as this does have a 4 gig 64 gig variant that's coming out, not sure when. And you'd be surprised to see the difference between 3 gigs and 4 gigs of RAM. It's definitely significant and worth it. In terms of security, you have the usual options for unlocking your device. The fingerprint scanner is fast and accurate, but what really surprised me is the face unlock. So you can quickly register your face, and once you're done, yep, it unlocks just like that. Now, it's not the most secure thing in the world, but I did find that you won't be able to trick it with a picture of yourself, so yeah, I can say that's secure enough. There are other options in the face unlock to use it for unlocking your phone, an app, or your private safe, which you can use to encrypt your files. With auto brightness compensation, if it's too dark, it will automatically adjust the brightness on your phone to detect your face, which I found out you don't really need turned on. As even at night, the face unlock actually works well as long as your phone is at least 50% brightness, but your mileage may vary. And I don't see that going well, as that will blind you at night. You can also choose for it to not recognize your face when your eyes are closed, which works well also. And you can choose to have face unlock your phone immediately, or with a swipe up after you unlock your device. So yeah, a few security options with customizability, so very nice. A few cool software features that should be worth noting. At the home screen settings, you can choose between having an app drawer or having all your apps in the home screen, customizing your app icons to pretty much however you want it to look. Double tap the screen to lock your device and double tap to wake your device in the convenience tools. So you can basically use the C3 without ever having to press the power button. You can also change the app startup and closing animation speed. I actually didn't find this to be helpful. So just like old times, I turned to developer options to speed up my Android phone a bit. And to do that, just simply go to about phone, version, and tap the version number until you unlock developer options. Go into additional settings, developer options, and scroll down to find these three and set them all to 0.5. And you'll be surprised as to how snappy your phone is now. In the convenience tools, you can choose if you want to use virtual navigation buttons or swipe gestures, which works great. Change the layout of the virtual buttons and the option to swipe down from the bottom of the screen to enter one-handed mode. I did find this to be kind of annoying, as on occasion where I would just press any of the navigation buttons and it would go into one-handed mode, so I just turned that off. Another option is to auto-hide the virtual buttons. Also in the convenience tools, we have the assistive ball, which basically gives you a ball or no, circle. So basically, you can move this ball. I'm just going to call it that since that's what it says here. Move it around to where you want it to be, and you can use this as an alternative for the navigation buttons. Customized for single tap, double tap, and touch and hold for home, back, and multitasking. Also as a tap menu, so you can assign different functions to every button. Adjust the opacity of the ball and hide the ball automatically when in full screen mode. You also have the smart sidebar, which basically is like the assistive ball but is more low-key. You can just swipe from it to open up your shortcuts, customize it, and here you can actually add compatible apps for shortcuts. So very nice. You can also change its opacity and hide it again when in full screen mode. So even though I did find the assistive ball and smart sidebar to be helpful, I actually didn't use them, but that's just me, of course. And lastly, here are the gestures and motions. So here you have screen up gestures, double tap to wake your device, draw a circle to open the camera app, draw a V to turn on the flashlight, and music control gestures. Now these three are not consistent. There are times where it wouldn't work and times where I would lock my phone, and while putting it back in my pocket, I would just touch the screen momentarily and it would turn on the flashlight. So yeah, I didn't use them. You also have additional screen up gestures if you want to. You also have 3-finger screenshot for a regular screenshot and an extended one. But here you have a 3-finger touch and hold to just include what you want in the screenshot, so you don't have to take a screenshot and crop it later on. Raise to wake your phone, which works flawless, and pretty much every gesture and motion works well. The screen record feature is very nice, as for the first time in my life, I can now record the system sound from my phone. And you can also choose to record audio from your microphone. You can't do both since it's already going to pick up sound from the speaker. Record up to 1080p, change the orientation, option to turn on the front-facing camera when recording, and option to also include the screen taps. So it's actually surprising as to how many features and customizability options that Realme put into the C3. Some actually you will find in higher-end smartphones. But hopefully Realme can address some of the software bugs and overall just optimizing the UI as a whole. And what most of you probably came for is performance. So like I said, general browsing through the UI, opening and closing apps has been a smooth experience so far. Gaming has been awesome, so combining a solid chipset with a lower resolution 720p display, and you have yourself an excellent mobile gaming experience. So this can handle even the most graphically intensive games in the Play Store right now. Although take note, when I played PUBG Mobile in the HD settings, frame rates weren't the best. I would say it was hovering around 30 FPS or less. So when playing the most intensive games, I recommend turning off Smart Power Saver and turn on high performance mode in the battery settings and you're good to go. And trust me when I say you don't need to worry about the battery life with the Realme C3. Again, this has a 5000 mAh battery that's the same capacity as the Galaxy S20 Ultra. And testing the battery on this hasn't been a pleasant experience, mainly because it's hard to kill, but at the same time it charges really slow. I mean, for most people this is easily a 2 or even 3-day battery if you're a casual user. Easily a whole day battery life if you're a hardcore mobile gamer playing 8 to 10 hours with high performance mode on. And yeah, it is possible to kill it in a day if you are the type of person. This is easily a 2-day phone for me, so for my usage, which includes a lot of social media, YouTube, a bit of gaming for like 2 hours a day, and some picture taking, which on average gives me 5 to 6 hours of screen on time and usually ending the day with a little over 50% charge, which is insane. I actually did try to kill it in a day with only gaming and high performance mode on, and it's really freaking hard to kill, ending the day with over 7 hours of screen on time and 30% charge left. One downside to that huge battery is that it charges really slow. 3 hours from empty to full using the included 5V 2A charger that came in the box. Realme said that this supports up to 10 watts of fast charging, but so far I couldn't find a compatible fast charger for this. I did try it with my Transmart charger with Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, but it didn't make a difference. So charging this overnight is like the best way to charge it. Plus, if you're feeling really generous, then you can use a reverse charge to charge your friend's phone, so very nice. So in terms of overheating, the C3 doesn't heat up a lot. It's still comfortable to the touch even after hours of gaming, but it does heat up quite a bit when charging, but nothing too alarming, so yeah. And lastly is camera quality. So the pictures taken on the main 12 megapixel sensor has been great for the most part. Pictures taken in good lighting are nice and detailed, a bit overexposed at times and also a bit oversaturated, but not as oversaturated as with Samsung phones. Dynamic range is also good, but if you're having trouble with blown highlights or crushed shadows, just simply turn on HDR and you have an overall better photo. Low light or nighttime shots are respectable for the most part. The C3 does a good job with minimizing noise and keeping the details without making the images look soft. Shutter speed is relatively quick and is pretty much the same with or without HDR turned on. Although Realme didn't say anything about a telephoto lens, you do get a 2x and 4x zoom button. And while it is there, it doesn't mean you have to use it. I mean, the 2x works just fine without losing much detail, but I'd stay away from the 4x. Don't know why Realme added that in the first place. Using the portrait mode, the C3 does a really convincing job in edge detection and overall just gives a convincing bokeh effect. The macro mode does an okay job with macro shots. It is there, but I'm having mixed feelings about it. You also have slow-mo, pro or manual mode, and panorama. I would say image processing is pretty much the same with the 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Although you get less detail, it does give you pretty good selfies. And the portrait mode does a good job with edge detection and gives you a nice bokeh with your selfies, which is really impressive as it doesn't have a dedicated sensor for depth information. I can't say the same when taking selfies in low light or at night, as images just fall apart. There is the full screen flash, well, it is there if you need it. This is the video coming out of the Realme C3 at 1080p 30fps, and what you're hearing right now is the audio coming from the main microphone or the internal microphone of the Realme C3. I'm just gonna test out stabilization. So the C3 doesn't have any type of stabilization, so this is what you get. It does tend to focus at times, but overall it gives you nice and detailed videos for the most part. And pretty much the same goes with videos from the front-facing camera. But yeah, overall you're getting a solid camera system from the Realme C3. So question, is this the best budget smartphone right now? It might be, considering that there are a lot of budget options from Xiaomi, Blue, and other unknown brands that you might not heard of, like Oukitel. I can't say for certain right now, but this is definitely one of the frontrunners for best budget smartphone of the year. In terms of recommending this, I can easily recommend this of course, but if you're the type of person who multitasks a lot with their smartphone, then I would say wait for the 4GB 64GB variant. And in conclusion, Do I dare say it? This is almost a complete package depending on what your standards are for a smartphone. Of course, if you guys want to buy the Realme C3, then I'll leave the link in the description and comments of this video. One small detail that I didn't mention is that this is splash resistant. At least that's what Realme claims. I wanted to do a separate video on that mainly because I didn't want this to die on me while I'm doing my full review. And the SIM card tray doesn't have a rubber seal around it, which makes me skeptical about doing a water test in my full review. So stay tuned for that. If you guys have any questions, just leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Leave a like if you did, dislike if you feel like you have to, consider subscribing and turn on notifications to be updated on my latest videos. As always, bookmark and use my Lazada affiliate link if you're buying at Lazada, and donate to my PayPal also to support the channel. Like my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter for other updates and announcements. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep safe, peace.